Olivia had always believed that loyalty was the currency of true friendship, until the day she decided to spend it all on a lie. It started innocently enough, or so she told herself. Her best friend Rose had been dating Henry, a charming man with eyes that seemed to hold entire galaxies, and a smile that could melt the hardest hearts. Olivia had met him at one of Rose's dinner parties, and from that very first handshake, something shifted inside her chest. It wasn't love at first sight. It was something darker, more consuming, an obsession wrapped in justification. Rose doesn't appreciate him, Olivia whispered to herself night after night, staring at her ceiling while guilt gnawed at her conscience. She doesn't see how special he is. But the truth, the ugly truth that Olivia refused to acknowledge, was simpler and more selfish. She wanted what Rose had, and she was willing to destroy a friendship to get it. The poison started as small drops, a comment here, a twisted truth there. "Henry, I'm only telling you this because I care about you both," Olivia would say, her voice dripping with false concern. Rose was at Daniel's place again last night. I saw her car parked outside until 2 a.m. The lies grew bolder, more elaborate. She fabricated stories of Rose's infidelity, her supposed disrespect, her complaints about Henry's career. Each lie was carefully crafted, designed to create doubt where there had been trust, to plant thorns where there had been roses. And Henry, dear trusting Henry, or so she thought, believed every word. Within 6 months, he had left Rose, and within a year, he had proposed to Olivia. Rose was devastated, confused, unable to understand why the man she loved had suddenly turned cold, why her best friend seemed distant and unavailable during her darkest hours. Olivia avoided her calls, blocked her messages, and eventually, Rose moved to another city, her heart shattered into pieces too small to count. Meanwhile, Olivia wore her engagement ring like a trophy, convincing herself that the end justified the means, that love conquered all sins, that somehow this betrayal would lead to happiness. She planned the perfect wedding, a grand celebration in Lagos that would be talked about for years. She spent money without counting, hired the best vendors, sent invitations to everyone who mattered. Her parents, though initially concerned about how quickly the relationship had progressed, eventually embraced Henry as their future son-in-law. He was charming, attentive, and seemed genuinely devoted to their daughter. He spoke of his family, a loving mother in Abuja, siblings scattered across the country building their own lives, a late father whose memory he honored with quiet reverence. He showed Olivia pictures, introduced her via video calls to the woman he called Mama, and gradually, every doubt Olivia might have had dissolved like sugar in hot tea. The relationship moved at the speed of trust, or what Olivia believed was trust. 6 months into their engagement, Henry approached her with a business opportunity. His eyes sparkled with the kind of excitement that made her heart race. "Olivia, this is it," he said, holding her hands across the dinner table at their favorite restaurant in Victoria Island. "I've been offered a partnership in a logistics company. It's legitimate, well-established, and the returns will set us up for life. But I need capital, 6 million naira to secure my share." Olivia didn't hesitate. She had worked hard, saved diligently, and built a successful catering business that had made her financially independent. What was money compared to building a future with the man she loved? She transferred the money the next day. Then came another request, this time more urgent. His mother was sick, kidney problems, he said, and the medical bills were mounting. "I've exhausted all my savings, Olivia. I've sold my car, I've borrowed from friends. But Mama needs dialysis, and the hospital won't continue treatment without payment." Olivia's heart broke for him. She gave him another 3 million naira. Then came the wedding expenses. "Let me handle the venue," he insisted. 2 million naira. "I'll take care of the honeymoon arrangements," he said with that devastating smile. "Another 1 million. My family is large, and tradition demands that I contribute significantly to the festivities. Another 2 million. By the time the wedding date approached, Olivia had given Henry over 14 million naira, but she convinced herself it was an investment in their future, in their family, in the life they would build together. She met his family, or so she thought. The woman who called herself Mama was warm, welcoming, full of prayers and blessings. She would call Olivia every week, offering advice on marriage, sharing recipes, asking about wedding preparations. Henry's siblings, Godwin, Nicole, and Vivian, were equally charming. They visited occasionally, shared meals, laughed at inside jokes, and made Olivia feel like she was already part of the family. Everything seemed perfect, too perfect, but Olivia was too intoxicated by love and guilt to notice the cracks in the facade. The guilt over what she had done to Rose still haunted her in quiet moments, but she pushed it down, buried it beneath layers of justification and hope. "I'll make this right by being the best wife," she told herself. "I'll make Henry so happy that the universe will forgive me." But the universe, as Olivia would soon discover, keeps perfect accounts. Wednesday morning, 3 days before the wedding, Olivia woke up with butterflies dancing in her stomach. The hotel suite they had booked was perfect, elegant, spacious, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Lagos Lagoon. She and Henry had spent the entire day together, going over final details, laughing about the chaos of wedding planning, dreaming about their honeymoon in Mauritius. He had been particularly affectionate that day, holding her close, whispering promises about forever, making love to her with an intensity that made her forget every doubt, every whisper of intuition that something might be wrong. He left around 7 p.m., kissing her forehead. "I need to check on some last-minute arrangements at my hotel," he said. "And trust me, you don't want to see me before the wedding. It's bad luck." She laughed, pushed him playfully toward the door, and watched him leave with her heart full of anticipation. Saturday morning arrived with the kind of golden sunlight that seemed to promise perfection. Olivia woke at 4 a.m., too excited to sleep. She wanted to check one final detail with Henry, whether he would wear the bow tie she had specially ordered from Italy or the long tie he had bought himself. She dialed his number. The phone was switched off. She tried again, assuming his battery had died. Still off. A small flutter of concern rippled through her, but she pushed it aside. Henry was probably sleeping, she reasoned. His phone had died, and he would call as soon as he woke up. She continued with her preparations, taking a long bath, carefully moisturizing her skin, humming wedding songs. At 6 a.m., when his line was still unreachable, the flutter became a wave. This isn't like him, she thought. Henry was meticulous, always available, especially for something as important as their wedding day. She found her brother Daniel in the guest room, already dressed in his groomsman's suit. "Daniel, I need you to drive me to Henry's hotel. His phone is off, and I just want to make sure everything's okay." Her brother noticed the tremor in her voice and agreed immediately. They drove through the quiet morning streets, Olivia's anxiety building with every passing minute. When they arrived at the hotel, the receptionist smiled professionally. "Good morning. We're here to see Henry Okonkwo, room 307, Daniel said. The receptionist checked her computer, and her smile faltered slightly. "I'm sorry, sir, but Mr. Okonkwo checked out on Wednesday evening." The world tilted on its axis. "Wednesday!" Olivia's voice came out as a whisper. "That's impossible. I was with him on Wednesday. He left my hotel at 7 p.m. to come here." The receptionist checked again, her expression sympathetic. "I'm certain, ma'am. He settled his bill and checked out at approximately 6:45 p.m. on Wednesday." Olivia's legs refused to hold her weight. Daniel caught her before she collapsed, his own face pale with shock and growing understanding. The drive back to the house passed in a blur. Olivia couldn't feel her hands, couldn't form coherent thoughts. Her mind raced through possibilities, each one more terrifying than the last. An accident? Kidnapping? Emergency? But why wasn't his phone on? Why hadn't he called? The house was already buzzing with activity when they returned. Friends had arrived the night before. Family members who had traveled from different states were already preparing for the ceremony. Her makeup artist, Nicole, she had coincidentally hired someone with the same name as Henry's supposed sister, was waiting impatiently, tapping her watch. "Olivia, we should have started an hour ago. You're the bride. We need at least 3 hours for your full look." Olivia couldn't speak. She walked past everyone, into her bedroom, and locked the door. She tried Henry's number again, and again and again. Off, off, off. Each failed call was a hammer blow to her heart. At 8 a.m., Daniel made the decision that would save his sister from complete public humiliation. He picked up the microphone, and his voice, amplified through the speakers set up in their compound, silenced the growing chatter. Good morning, everyone. I have an important announcement. Unfortunately, Henry was involved in a minor accident on his way here this morning. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Please don't worry. He's been taken to the hospital as a precaution and is responding well to treatment. However, the doctors have advised that he shouldn't travel today. Given the circumstances, we will proceed with a modified ceremony, essentially a blessing and celebration with everyone who has traveled so far to be here. It was a masterful lie, delivered with enough conviction to prevent total chaos. The ceremony proceeded as a strange, hollow imitation of what it should have been. Olivia's father walked her down the aisle, his hand trembling slightly as it held hers. The pastor, sensing something was deeply wrong but not wanting to cause further distress, offered prayers of protection and blessing. There was no groom waiting at the altar, no exchange of rings, no "I do," no kiss to seal the union. Guests ate the food, made polite conversation, and left with confusion etched on their faces. Some whispered theories, others expressed concern, but no one dared approach Olivia directly. She sat through it all like a ghost at her own wedding, wearing her beautiful dress like a funeral shroud. That evening, when the last guest had left and the house fell silent, Olivia finally broke. She confessed everything to her parents and Daniel. The money she had lent Henry, 14 million naira gone without a trace, the promises he had made, the family she had met, the future they had planned. Her father's face aged a decade in that moment. Her mother wept, and Daniel, always practical Daniel, began making calls to banks, to Henry's supposed business partners, to anyone who might have information. The truth unraveled like a cheap sweater. Pull one thread, and the entire thing falls apart. It took Daniel 3 days of investigation to discover what Olivia had refused to see. Henry Okonkwo, if that was even his real name, was a ghost, a phantom, a masterfully crafted illusion. The phone number for Mama was disconnected. The siblings, Godwin, Nicole, Vivian, were nowhere to be found. The addresses Henry had provided led to empty buildings or businesses that had never heard of him. The logistics company he had claimed to invest in didn't exist. Every single thing had been a lie, meticulously constructed and flawlessly performed. But the final revelation came 4 days after the wedding that wasn't, when a stranger's message appeared in Olivia's DMs. I don't know if I should tell you this, but my conscience won't let me stay silent. My name is Emmanuel, and I used to work with someone named Henry Okonkwo. I saw your wedding photos circulating with questions about what happened. I think you deserve to know the truth. Henry is married. He has a wife named Grace and 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, ages 9, 6, and 3. He's been running this con for years, targeting successful single women, building relationships, extracting money, and disappearing. I was part of his crew once, playing the role of a cousin or business partner, until I saw how much damage we were causing and walked away. The woman you knew as his mother, her name is Martha, and she's his aunt. She's been arrested twice before for fraud. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Olivia read the message 17 times before she could breathe again. The pain was no longer sharp. It had evolved into something deeper, a bone-deep ache that would take years to heal. She had lost 14 million naira, her dignity, her wedding day, and her ability to trust. But worse than all of that, she had lost something she could never get back, her integrity. Because as she sat in the wreckage of her own devastation, she finally allowed herself to remember the truth she had spent 3 years avoiding. Rose, beautiful, trusting Rose, whose life Olivia had destroyed with calculated lies. Rose, who had loved Henry first, who had been betrayed not just by him, but by the person she had called her best friend. The universe hadn't just kept accounts, it had delivered justice with devastating precision. Olivia had poisoned a relationship with lies, and karma had returned the favor by allowing her to be consumed by an even more elaborate deception. 6 months later, Olivia sat in a small cafe in Lekki across from Rose, who had reluctantly agreed to meet after months of persistent messages. Rose looked different, stronger, somehow, with the kind of confidence that comes from surviving betrayal and emerging whole on the other side. Rose, I need to tell you the truth, Olivia began, her voice breaking. Everything that happened between you and Henry, I caused it. I lied to him about you because I wanted him for myself. I destroyed your relationship because I was selfish and jealous, and convince myself that the end would justify the means. And the universe made sure I understood exactly how you felt. Henry wasn't real. He was a con artist, and he took everything from me. My money, my dignity, my wedding day. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was realizing that I had become exactly what he was. Someone who lied and manipulated to get what they wanted. Someone who destroyed another person's happiness for their own gain. I destroyed your life, Rose, and I will never be able to make that right. But I needed you to know the truth. I needed you to know that I'm sorry, that I understand now, that if I could go back and change everything, I would. Not because of what happened to me, but because you never deserved what I did to you. Rose was silent for a long moment, her eyes searching Olivia's face for traces of the friend she had once known. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady but not unkind. Olivia, what you did to me broke me. For years, I questioned everything. My judgment, my worth, whether I had somehow driven Henry away. I blamed myself for whatever I had done wrong, not knowing that the knife in my back had been held by my best friend. When I found out the truth, I was angry, devastated, and honestly, I wanted you to suffer the way I had suffered. And then I heard what happened at your wedding, and I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no joy in your pain. Just sadness for both of us, for the friendship we could have had, for the time we wasted, for the lessons we had to learn the hard way. She paused, taking a sip of her coffee. I forgive you, Olivia. Not because what you did is okay, but because holding on to that anger was poisoning my own life. I forgive you, and I hope you can forgive yourself. But understand this. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean we can go back to what we were. That friendship died the day you chose jealousy over loyalty. But maybe in time, we can both move forward as better people who learn that betrayal, whether it's wrapped in love or dressed up as friendship, always comes with a price. Olivia wept. For Rose, for herself, for the person she had been and the person she was trying to become. The road to redemption would be long, paid with therapy sessions, honest work to rebuild her business, and the daily choice to be better. She never recovered the 14 million naira. Henry and his crew disappeared like smoke, untraceable and unpunishable. But Olivia did recover something more valuable, her integrity, her honesty, and a hard-earned understanding that true happiness can never be built on someone else's pain. 3 years later, Olivia stood before a group of young women at a financial literacy workshop she had started. "Let me tell you a story," she began, "about a woman who thought she could steal happiness and ended up losing everything. The lesson was simple but profound. Betrayal is a boomerang that always finds its way back, often with devastating accuracy. True love cannot be built on lies, and when you poison someone else's well, don't be surprised when your own water tastes bitter. The universe doesn't play favorites, it plays fair. So what do you think? Was Olivia's suffering justified? Could you forgive a friend who betrayed you like Rose did? Have you ever learned a lesson the hard way? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear your perspective. If this story touched you or taught you something valuable, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more real-life lessons told with heart, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes the best lessons come from the hardest falls. See you in the next story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video for more interesting and captivating stories. See you on the next one.